Okay, so you can just click and either of these green buttons is fine. Okay, so your login name doesn't matter too much, so let's do my name. And I'm going to pause this so I can fill this out, and because it requires, you do have to enter your credit card, but it's not going to charge you. So just, you can pick the monthly fee down here. That's what I usually do. Unless you know you're going to want to use it longer already, then by all means. And you just click start my free trial. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now you should see something that looks like this, and you can just skip the video for now. Unless you want to watch and get a little bit more information about Aweber, let's just click get started. Okay, so first it's going to ask you to set up your list. So a list is like a container. It holds all of your emails. And you're going to be putting emails in, and sometimes people are going to be unsubscribing. Like, you know, when you get an email and it says unsubscribe, that's unsubscribing from a list like this automatically. Okay, so you don't have to, you can just enter your name. It doesn't have to be a real company name if you don't have one. Let's just say no, I don't have a website right now, and then some of the other information should already be there. Who your email is from, so this is going to show, and you can change this later, but it's going to show. So if you want your company name and you don't want your personal name, put it in this field, okay? And then when you get replies to emails, if people hit reply on the email, it's going to go to whatever email you put in here. So just be aware of that. Again, you can change that later if you want. Okay, so this, you just got to give it a name. So let's call this let's call this tips for lead generation, because that's what the list is about. Again, so, and people will be able to see this, so don't write anything you wouldn't want people to see. Okay, you can change that later if you want, so don't stress over that. Next, approve your confirmation message. So here's an important thing to remember that sometimes you can get hung up on. So what autoresponders want you to do is they want, when someone submits a form and when someone gives your list their email, Aweber and autoresponder services want that person to confirm that they got the email and that they want to have more emails from you. So why do they make you go, why do they want you to go through this extra step? They want you to do it to safeguard them, because everything for this company is based on their reputation. If they start getting a lot of spam complaints, the ISP above them that controls their traffic will get mad at them and shut them down. So it's in Aweber's best interest to make sure that everyone on the list wants to be on the list. And this is to protect them that you are not a spammer. So you want to take care in what you're delivering out of this, because you can get shut down if you do spammy type stuff or anything that might be malicious software, anything like that. So I'm sure you won't, but be aware that that does happen from time to time. But here's the other component of this, is you don't have to do that. And I choose not to, and sometimes there's a few extra little steps you have to go through, but because I prefer, if they've opted into my list, in my opinion, they want to be there, so I'm just going to give them the emails right away. And that tends to be, that removes that barrier and gives you a better chance to market to people. So again, this is your choice, and you can change it later, but right now, I'm just going to leave this as is, because we're going to change this in another place, because they kind of want you to do it, but like I said, you don't have to. If you do want them to confirm your message, it's going to send them something like this, and it's where they just click a button to say, yes, send me the email. Okay, so again, there's nothing wrong with keeping this if you want. So no wrong in that. You're doing fine. Just be aware that you do have another option. Okay, and you can edit it to say whatever you want if you want. So I'm going to complete the setup. Okay, so what I want to do first is, let's see, let's do a sign up, or let me close this here. So here's a tip. Up here, you can make multiple lists. So you could have 10, 20, 30, you could have one, you could have two, and they're all going to be listed in this drop down. So we're already in the right list. So whichever one is showing here is the one that you're in. Okay? So let's make a sign up form, because let's go back to figure out why we're doing this. Back in ClickFunnels, if I go back to our opt-in page, so if you remember, we still need to hook this up. Okay, we still need to tell this form what we want it to do. And we're going to attach our Aweber to, let's skip this, sorry. We're going to attach our Aweber list to this form so that when someone enters their email in this form, it's going to automatically put them in this list and send them a message automatically. So in order to do that, we need to create a form. So if it's not clear, anything that's an input like this is a form. Okay, whether it has name, address, email, anything you fill out is just called a form. So create your first sign up form. Oops, did not click. There it goes. Now, for our needs, we're not going to mess with any of this design stuff because it's not going to matter, because we're going to just use the back-end feature. So automatically it's got a name and an email field. In my case, I've only got an email field. If you have a name and email, if you have an email and a name, you can keep these. But I'm going to remove the name because I just want their email. That's all I really care about. Again, why do I do that? I do that because I want a lower barrier to entry. So any little thing that I can shave off to get the person to enter their email, I'm going to do that. The other line of thinking, though, is, well, if you have their name, you can write personal emails, which are more personal. If that works better for your industry, then by all means keep both. But just remember which one you chose, because that's going to matter in a minute. So I'm going to remove the name field. So now I just have the email. I'm not going to mess with anything else here. Just going to click Save. Okay, and then I'm going to go to step 2. Here, we are going to need, no, I'm sorry, we don't need to do anything here. That's right. So I'm going to just continue to step 3. Okay, so it gives you several options, and again, this service is for people who have regular websites and other applications they're going to use. So fortunately for us, like I said, ClickFunnels has done a lot of the hard work for us. So in most cases, you're not going to need to do anything else on this form creation. In other advanced scenarios, you will need to do some installation, but for our purposes, we're not going to need to do that. So let me show you what's next. So now we're going to go over to ClickFunnels. And before we can do anything here, we have to go back out. And then up at the top here, where you've got this drop-down list, I want to go to Integrations. Okay, and it gives you some preset options. So I'm going to set up a brand new integration just like you would. So this is setting up what's called an API key that's going to connect these devices together. Don't worry, it's very easy. So click the green button. Okay, it's already got Aweber in here, which is good. So we're just going to select Aweber. Integration nickname, I'm going to call this Demo Aweber. You can just call it whatever you want. You can change that later. And then I'm going to click Connect. And since I'm already signed into Aweber in the same browser, it's automatically taking me to the place I want to be. So now it's just going to ask me for my login. I'm going to pause and log in real quick. And then just click Allow Access. Okay, success. It was successfully created. And you can see down here this is the one that we just connected. And you can have multiples if you have different services, like if you're managing different clients for some reason. Many of you probably won't be doing that. So now let's go back to our funnel where we need to tell the form what to do. Go back to Browse Funnels, select our template again, and then just click back into the editor. Okay, so remember up here, Settings, Integrations. Now we're going to see something different when I select Integration. And here's our list that we just set up, Demo Aweber. You won't have this big long list like I do. You'll just have whatever you've called yours. Select that. And then the action, we want to integrate with an existing form, because remember we made a form. And then the list that we're going to add is this one that we created, Tips for Lead Generation. Now, a little bit of troubleshooting. If for some reason it's not connecting, try to disconnect it. Remove integration, try to refresh, save your page, jump out of it, come back in, try it again. Occasionally that happens. Don't get frustrated, just try to troubleshoot it as best you can to get the screen button to show. If all else fails, send an email to Aweber signup, and they may be able to help you on their end. And you can always check with ClickFunnels support as well. They're very good at responding quickly. But this should be no problem. Just letting you know sometimes things happen. So we're all connected, and now we want to go down here to this form. Okay, so it's already selected the email, and you can change the text here if you want. I can delete whatever, add whatever I want. It's already required that you have to fill it in because you have to have something. And then, so let us save. And let me verify one thing before we go further. Okay, so as you see, I have the thank you page after this. So watch what happens when we go back to this page. So we want to preview. And then you can just enter any old email address. And then click the button. Okay, and it gives us our thank you page. So now we need a test to make sure that it made it into our sign up form. So here we are back on Aweber. Go to Subscribers, Manage Subscribers. Okay, and there's the email I just entered, so it worked. And in the future you can click this little link here, and it'll show you everything that happened with this user. We'll get into that later. So now we need to make an email to deliver to people when they sign up for whatever lead magnet you're offering them, or whatever it is you're offering them. You need to deliver that to their email. Even though you just showed them a thank you page here, that's not enough. You need to send them an email, for one, to prove that you've got their email, so you can send to them again. But you can't trust that people are just going to see what's on your thank you page and continue on in the process. They may bounce, they have life happens, kids, dinners, things like that. They may go away and this page will go away. But now that you're in their email, that's a very powerful tool, which is why I had you go through this little bit of trouble to set this up. So now let's make a message. You can either go to the drafts, or I just go right in if I know what I'm going to make. Now there's, again, different stuff. We're not going to mess with it at this time because it is more advanced, but there's more powerful tools you can use. But right now we're just going to go to where it says Legacy Follow-Up Series, because that's the easiest one. Okay, so here's where we're going to build your emails. And we're just going to do one today, but you would do the same thing for as many emails as you want to deliver to your potential leads. So there's a drag and drop method. There's a plain text message where you just start typing away. There's no images, there's no styling. It's just like a plain text document. Then there's the HTML editor. This is if you know HTML and you want to try to code something yourself. Either way, I do not recommend this. It's a little more trouble than it's worth. So we're going to go with the easy, well, this would be the easiest one, but we're going to go with the one that looks a little nicer and is still easy to use. So just click that. And so there's a couple things you can do. You can just start taking these things and dragging them over, just like the ClickFunnels editor, wherever you want them to go. You can just do that. If you want a picture, you can drag a picture in here, and you upload an image, and that's how you build these. Another easy way to do this is to go over here to where it says templates, and then find the one that's gonna fit your style or your theme the best. I would keep it pretty simple. You don't, just as a little tip, it's tempting to make something very image heavy and fancy like some of these that looks very nice, which some of these do. The downside of that is that people that get your leads tend to think you're a big company that doesn't really care about them, that you're just trying to sell them something. Like, you've got a bunch of money to build out this fancy template, you're not really talking to me. Where I like to keep it personally pretty simple, so I can communicate very directly with my leads, because I want to connect with them. That's going to be your best option to getting leads for whatever business you're in. If you're trying to sell a product, maybe that's a little different, but if you're trying to convince someone to enter into a business relationship with you, you want to talk to them directly. So I like to keep it simple. So just you just select the template you want, and you see that the basic outline is filled in here, so we're just going to click apply. And here it's carried over here. So these are just sections that you could pop in whatever you want, similar to what I just showed you, but they're a little bit pre-styled. So let's say I want a headline here. Oops, I want to actually do something different. Say I want a headline here. And then in this section, maybe I want an image. And let's say I'm going to go find an image, so you just click, and then you'll come over here to upload an image or an image gallery. If you want to upload an image, just click that, and you would find it on your desktop. Let's see, I think I've already got one in here, so I'm just going to click image gallery. I'll just pick any old one. Okay, so there you go, and there's your headline. Now you see this funny business here that says first name fix. If you are collecting their first name, like I showed you back on ClickFunnels, if you're collecting their name and their email, if you want, this will automatically inject whatever name they've entered there. So if I entered the name Josh, it would say, hi Josh. If I entered the name Sally Sue, it would say, hi Sally Sue. And then, so you don't have to, you can just delete it if you don't want that. I do if I collect names, but in this case I'm not. So I'm just going to do that. You're going to type out whatever email you want, as long as you want. And if you want to add a little something at the bottom, you can. Like, you could add your logo if you have a logo. So here you would just add it. It's just another image. Let's see if I have, oops, let's cancel that. See if I have anything that's a logo-like. Well, here's some. They're not mine, but we'll just pretend that's my logo. And it's pretty big, so what you do is you can just click these little arrows, or just select, say, 100, and that'll make it small. Okay? So let's save this, and you want a subject line. So subject lines are really important, and later when we get into, let's see, which day is it? Later when we get into Day 5, where we have the 7-part sales series, I'm going to talk a lot more in depth about subject lines and why you need to pay attention to them. So let's go back to where we were, back in section 8 still. So right now I'm just going to put in a placeholder. Okay, and I'm going to go to preview and test. So here you can enter your email and hit send test, and it'll send you exactly what it's going to look like in their email. It'll look very similar to this or whatever your template is. You'll notice down here that this information about your physical address down here in this unsubscribe, this is legal. You have to have this here. That's why they automatically put it here and you can't delete it. So make sure it's a real address. It can be a PO box or a business address, but it just has to be a physical address. And the unsubscribe is there, which will automatically unsubscribe them if they click it. Again, this is lots. You can look up, read about the CAN Spam Act. It describes this in more detail, but as long as you've got an address and an unsubscribe, that's all you need to be compliant. You're fine. So I'm not going to bother to send the test, but you can imagine it would just send to my email and it would show what it looks like. And then we want to just click back to get back to the editor. So let's say we're all done editing this and it looks the way we want. Let me show you if you wanted to add any links. You would just highlight this just like on any standard editor, and up at the top there's your links and whatever your URL is, and there it is. So again, I'm going to get into more depth on the day when we talk about emails. So right now I'm just showing you how to set up your first autoresponder. So what's going to go in this one is whatever you promised them when they filled out, after they filled out this form, and you promised them a free video, a PDF, a discount, whatever that thing that you promised them that's going to be here. Yes, you're going to have access to it here, but you're also going to send it in an email. Remember I talked before about you have to really get it in front of their eyes, and it may seem redundant, but it's an important step. Don't forget it. So I'm going to save and exit. So I'm in the drafts section, so I'm going to move this to my live section. So just be aware that when you move this, if there is anyone on your list, and here I'll show you. So I'm going to say add to follow-up series. That's what I want. Now here, this is the first one. So like it says here, it's going to go out immediately to whoever's on your list. So or whoever signs up from this point forward. So make sure it's nothing spammy. It says what you want it to say. Make sure you've tested it and you've got all your spelling errors and everything out. And then I'm going to click add to follow-up series. So now you'll see it's been popped into your legacy follow-up series. So this is your main area where you're going to see all the emails that you're going to set up. So we had this one and we set it to go immediately. So there's one other thing when you have a brand new account that I talked about before about sending a confirmation email. And so what I want to do is go to my list options and my list settings. And this is where all that information we set up before was scroll to the bottom, or I'm sorry, go to where it says confirmation message. Click here, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see that this is on send confirmation message for Aweber signup forms, send a confirmation message for subscriber imports. So I want to turn these both off. And I talked about that earlier of why they want you to do that, but you don't have to. That's why they have an option for it, because I just prefer to deliver the email right away. Now occasionally this might glitch a little bit, but I'll show you how to troubleshoot if we do experience that. So let's go back to the messages and follow-up series. Okay, so I'm going to now go back to my test page, preview. So now we're going to test to see if this email worked, to make sure it works. Again, like I said, sometimes there is a little bit of a glitch. If you'll notice here, so here's a little tip if you didn't notice already. Do you see how I have this plus whatever? if you start to use, you're going to run out of emails pretty quick if you're constantly testing this, and then Aweber is going to think you're spam, and it's going to cause you a little bit of grief. So if you have a Gmail, you can do, so for instance, my email is normally this, but if you just put a plus sign and then whatever you want after it, I just keep incrementing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. And that way it looks like a brand new email, and you shouldn't get too much grief. So we're going to hit get your free guide, or your button, whatever it may say. Okay, and then I'm going to show you how to populate this page when we get to it. I just want to focus on making sure that we get the email set up correctly. So let's first go to subscribers, manage subscribers. Okay, so this shows that my email that I just submitted made it to my list. So even though that maybe was a lot to set up just to get this far, but this is going to help you streamline things moving forward. So one thing I forgot to mention when I talked about possible glitch, what I mean is if you have a brand new account, if you're unknown to Aweber, they don't know who you are. Remember how I said they're kind of paranoid and they want to really safeguard themselves? So you may, if you do this test and you don't get an email in your email client, your Gmail or whatever your email goes to, and you're probably wondering, well, something's not working. Well, that's not necessarily the case. What's happened is Aweber is not going to deliver that until they review your account. So they probably will take a day or two to look over your account and make sure that it's not spam. To speed that process up, you can go to Help. And if you hear a dog in the distance, I apologize. My neighbor's dog has decided to start yapping away. So I'll do my best to not let that bother us. So just go down here and you can select, technical question, and then you want your list name. So ours was called, what did I name this? Tips for lead generation is what I called it. So there we go, tips for lead generation, messages, and then let's type API usage. So we're using an API, it's just a technical term again. So just type something like that, just asking them to unblock your account. And what they'll probably do is reply and say your account is in review. Don't sweat it. It may just take a day, like I said, or two. They're just going to do that, and there's nothing you can do. But this at least speeds up the process a little bit if you are in a hurry. Once you've done this and your account is clean, so to speak, then you can send all the messages you want, and you shouldn't have any trouble. So any autoresponder service is going to do this, but just be aware if that's the reason you're not seeing your ads. So let me actually go pull up the email that was delivered just a minute. Okay, so I just pulled up the email that came that I just implemented or submitted, sorry, and see it's just our sample email that we made. But just again, this is a test as if you were a regular user. So we've just confirmed that we hooked our list up to ClickFunnels successfully, and that we can send an automated email correctly.